This is Common Sense Radio on Lanterns Media Network, powered by freedom-loving, self-reliant Americans. I'm Susan Swift. I'm a proud native Texan, married mother of 7. I've been an actress, a lawyer, and I love God, family, and country. And yes, I'm the C word. I'm a conservative, fighting the good fight on the left coast.
And I'm AJ Davis, born and raised on the East Coast, now infiltrating the left coast. I'm a millennial, a husband, father of 3, and a military veteran. I'm fat, I'm bald, and yeah, I'm not politically correct. Welcome to Common Sense Radio on Lanterns Media Network. And welcome to the program, folks. You're listening to Common Sense Radio on the Lanterns Radio Network. And Susan, how are you?
I am blessed and highly favored. AJ, how are you?
Bald and fat.
Just the way I like you.
Oh, we have a jam-packed show for you, folks. I mean, we have been working behind the scenes on some really good stuff for this show, and I'm so excited. We got some really good pro-life stuff happening in Mississippi. I mean, some fantastic stuff. In the second segment, we have some stuff that's going to make your head just make your head go, ah. And in the third segment, we're going to dedicate that segment to the Looney Tunes over at Planned Parenthood.
Oh yeah, they're they're amazing.
You're gonna love. You stick around for the third segment. You will not regret it.
We're gonna spoof Planned Parenthood for you a little bit, but after we tell you what they're up to, it's not shocking. You'll believe it, but it's just very frustrating because they are at it again and again, and they never stop. They never sleep, and they are at us 24/7 trying to push abortion because that's their dirty business.
But first, Susan, you had something you wanted to get to, and
yes,
the floor is yours.
I am so sorry, but I have a rant because I can't stand it. I know we're talking about life, but you know what? There's something that's just as important to our defense of our livelihood and what we are as Americans, really. And that's what's just happened this most recent last week. What happened was the biggest mother of all bombs, a thermonuclear weapon, was detonated last week. And you may not have realized it because you didn't really hear it go off. But this mother of all bombs, this thermonuclear weapon, it was bigger than the 50 megaton Tsar Bomba exploded by the Soviet Union in 1961 over an island in the Russian Arctic Sea. The entire American population should be screaming to high heaven about it, especially the media and every member of the legal profession. Everyone should be marching on the streets to Washington right now to defend our nation. But nobody has a clue about the mother of all legal bombs. That's right. The deadly nuclear cloud that has exploded over Washington, D.C. was last week when the liberals decided that they could send the Southern District of New York into the offices of Trump's longtime lawyer, Cohen, and scoop up, hooverize, grab every document that this lawyer had on everything in his hotel room, whether it was at his offices, whether it was his home. They executed a warrant and scooped up all of the documents. Now, why is this a bomb? Why is this a silent nuclear strike with the allies of socialism on our Constitution? But that's exactly what it was, because the fallout is going to devastate our country and our Constitution if it's not stopped. This was the Mueller DOJ bomb that was devastating the attorney-client privilege. This is a sacred privilege that was designed to protect all Americans, not just a president and not just the Senate or the House or anybody else. It was designed to protect you and me from government power and corruption. It's just like the Second Amendment. Courts are very, very protective of the attorney-client privilege. It's the equivalent of going into confession with a priest or confessing to your rabbi, a minister, and that sacred relationship so that you can unburden yourself, you can talk to your attorney and really tell him what's really going on so that the attorney can advise you properly. What's gone on though, what has happened is that the attorney-client privilege has now been violated. And what you're going to hear from the other side in the news in the next couple of weeks is that, and they'll argue this in a very sophisticated manner because liberals are very good at this. They're going to attempt to justify what Mueller did and what the Southern District of New York did by justifying this violation. They're going to say, well, there's an exception to the attorney-client privilege. It's called the crime fraud exception. And that is true. You can't use a privilege, an attorney-client privilege, to perpetrate a fraud. You and the lawyer can't use a privilege to hide a crime. So if the lawyer is in cahoots with a criminal and say, yeah, we want to commit a crime, I'm telling you about it, lefty, and you and I, lefty lawyer, and I, we're gonna defraud the banks, right? And now the government can't come in and seize that conversation because it's all covered by attorney-client privilege. It doesn't work that way. That's why there is an exception called the crime fraud exception, so that if an attorney and their client are colluding together to create a crime, you can catch it. But that makes sense. Here's what the problem is. The leftists, Mueller and the Southern District of New York, they're going after Cohen, but they're seizing conversations with Trump. This is under the ever-expanding Trump-Russia collusion Mueller investigation. That's the premise, right? If they can't find any crimes along their merry way to finding Russian collusion, which doesn't exist, by the way, because if it did, we would have already had it leaked. It's been going on for a year and a half. Nobody's got anything. If they had any proof, they would have leaked it by now. They can prosecute anything that they find, but they aren't allowed to conduct what's called a fishing expedition. So what Mueller did in an effort to expand the scope of the Russia collusion and conspiracy investigation that's getting nowhere, Mueller went ahead and they went after Cohen via this whole Stormy Daniels $130,000 settlement. And what they're going after Cohen, saying that's a possible campaign violation. Fair enough. They can go after Cohen for a campaign violation. But here's what they're doing. They're using that in pretense, in hopes of vacuuming up all of Cohen's personal files and finding something on Trump. So this Cohen investigation is really a ruse to go after Trump. That's why Mueller had the Southern District of New York and those folks, they got tapped to do it, to execute the surprise warrant, the strike on Cohen, because the Southern District of New York is theoretically going to go through all of the documents. They're going to high grade them for any Trump violations and pass those on to Mueller. Anything that's juicy but arguably protected by an attorney-client privilege, they'll keep that at Southern District of New York, the lockbox, until prosecutors can figure out a way to independently investigate those little things too. But I want everybody who's listening to this, just as a regular American, ask yourself this and be really honest. Would Mueller and the Southern District of New York be going after Trump's lawyer, Cohen, if he weren't Trump's lawyer? No way. Because this might get at Trump, Mueller is doing this, and that's improper. They're covering themselves by using this as a sham to go after Trump. What they're wanting is dirt on Trump. Imagine the IRS digging up your tax returns and finding something, because everybody makes mistakes in their tax return, right? And then they can call that a crime. By doing this, Mueller and the liberals who have orchestrated this are chilling an individual's ability to retain a lawyer. You just think about it. What high-profiled conservative figure is now going to ask for a lawyer? Anybody? No? Because I'll tell you what, as a lawyer, I don't want to represent anybody that might have a problem. I don't want my home invaded and my records and everything scooped up after some, because of one client, right? Because that violating your attorney-client privilege it will scare off any attorney from representing any of these controversial figures. And that's what of it. Now, the bottom line is Democrats think that this is a one-off. This thermonuclear legal bomb that they've done, they think it's just a one-off, just designed to get Trump, because Trump's the boogeyman. They don't care about the consequences of their actions. And I guarantee you, if we ever get some GOP members or Republicans in there who have a little bit of fortitude and a spine, they should go after Hillary's lawyers, they should go after Obama's lawyers and everyone else, because once you violate the attorney-client privilege, it is dead. You've blown it up. And that's why this is the mother of all legal bombs. And I'm outraged as an attorney and as a private citizen. They should not be able to do this. And I'm praying to God that the courts, when they see this, will shut this down. Thank you. That's the end of my rant for today.
Hey, no worries, Susan. We're going to go to some good news. In the state of Mississippi, in March 19th, Governor Phil Bryant of Mississippi signed into law a measure that would almost ban all abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy.
Huzzah! Hooray!
I think we can end this show right now. Just on that. Just on that. It's amazing.
It's awesome, and it's an excellent thing, and it's because the forces of good and the forces of life are finally getting braver, and it's wonderful that he signed it into law. It was called the Gestational Age Act, and it was passed overwhelmingly by both chambers of the Republican-controlled Senate. By the way, guys, if you ever have a doubt whether it's Republican or Democrats who are in favor of life, just look. There is no more such thing as a pro-life Democrat. I've never seen them. They're like unicorns. They fly around, I guess. They don't exist anymore in the current public forum. This was Republican-controlled state legislature, and I did a little research on this because I know you love this piece, and I'm so happy about it. But did you know that less than an hour after the governor signed that law, an Obama appointee in the federal district for Mississippi's Southern District, Judge Carlton Reeves, put a stop to it.
Thanks.
He's an Obama appointee, by the way, appointed in 2010. He put a stop to it because he said the law threatens immediate, irreparable harm to Mississippians' abilities to control their destiny and body. That's what Judge Carlton W. Reeves wrote in his order. That's what he said, is that it's going to do immediate, irreparable harm to Mississippians.
Well, it's incredible. You think back, 1992, the Casey versus Planned Parenthood of Pennsylvania case was the last time anyone actually challenged since Roe v. Wade. Some of the rumors that I've been reading around on social media is that they want this to be pushed to the Supreme Court to maybe overturn Roe versus Wade.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it.
Well,
he's a hero.
The left sees that too. That's what they're whining and complaining about it because and I love it how they call themselves the pro-choice advocates. They're the pro-aborts. They want to abort people 24/7. I'm a pro-choice. Yeah, choose abortion. That's all you're talking about because there's no other choice, right? But they said that it's an attack on Roe versus Wade, and I want to say, yeah, darn right it is. That's exactly what we're trying to do. We are trying to roll back Roe versus Wade.
Yeah, absolutely. We think every child should be born no matter what. Life is such a of life is a human right.
Yes, gestation is a human right. Absolutely. If you've conceived and you're hanging in there, why shouldn't you have the right to be born?
It's sickening. I can't even. You go over to Ireland where they're trying to repeal the 8th Amendment of their Constitution, and then they want to kill babies all over. It's not just here we're fighting; it's all over the world.
That's right, and that's why it's really interesting to me that I think we're seeing the tide turning because fewer and fewer people in the next generation, the younger generation, favor abortion, and now we're starting to see legislatures and laws at the state level oppose abortion, which of course is making the abortion harpies, the murdering, the vampires who want to suck life literally right out of people. They're getting nervous because this is their population control and their government funding. That's both. Have you ever figured it out that way? This is population control and government funding all rolled up into one nice little neat package. That's what abortion is. They love to control populations. That's how you control people. You control their food. You control their energy. You control everything about them. But most important, if you can get to it, is you can control their health care and their very lives. So if I can snuff you out, then I can decide which people live and which people die. I mean, people mentioned this before. I mean, what happens once we discover that there's a gay gene, right? Do you think finally that the LGBT crowd, who tends to be very liberal, by and large, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't you think that they're going to have to start having a come to Jesus moment? I'm not trying to be funny, but they are. They're going to have to say, "Well, gee, you mean my mom and dad could have aborted me if there's a gay gene, right?" Because they like to say, yes, it's genetics, it's not anything else. Gayness is not a choice. Okay, fine. If it's a gene, what heterosexual mother and father are going to say? Oh, gee, he's going to have red hair, freckles, and he's going to be gay. I think I want an abortion. I mean, that is a possibility. And you and I stand on the side of saying, no, you can't abort somebody because they're gay. No, you can't abort somebody because it's a boy or because it's a girl or because it has red hair or freckles or because it has Down's syndrome or because it has anything else that you think is wrong with it, because that's wrong to kill somebody because you don't like their genetic makeup. And that's what this is. This is
sick.
Abortion is it's sick, and it's abortion is genetic. It's eugenics. That's what Margaret Sanger was all about. She wanted to improve a race of people. She wanted a race of thoroughbreds. Remember that?
Yeah, remember, you've heard the video or the audio of George Bernard Shaw, where he tells people, you come up in front of a panel and justify your existence. I mean, it's mind-boggling that people would support this and erase that type of history. Oh, my goodness. So, yeah, it's great news out of Mississippi. Susan and I are more than pleased. We are on cloud nine when the governor is saying we want the state of Mississippi to be the safest place for the unborn child. Well, every womb should be the safest place for an unborn child.
Absolutely. I hope that as the legal battle, remember though, less than an hour after he signed the bill, there's only one abortion clinic in the state of Mississippi. Thanks be to God. I hope that one gets shut down too. But there's only one, abortion clinic there. And they were poised, ready, like vampires flying in the night, whoosh! And they were already in the courtroom in less than an hour, right there in front of Judge Reeves saying, oh, it's unconstitutional. I mean, what kind of a sick world do we live in where the Constitution that says right to life, liberty, and happiness can be twisted into abortion? It's where you ignore the right of the unborn. That's the only way you can do it, and they have to get it to they have to sell it to you that it's just a mass of tissue, or it's just some it's just you skipped your period or whatever. They have to lie about what it is, and that's why the abortion industry does not want you to have the 4D the in real time gestational sonograms where you can actually see the baby moving around, because then you can see it's a real face. It's not just a sonogram like the two-dimensional kind where it's kind of black and white and looks like a radar, like there's a submarine on the radar somewhere. But it's in 3 or 4D, I forget how they call it. But the baby is actually you can see it in 3D, and it's amazing, and it changes hearts and minds, because when a woman sees that, says, oh, I didn't know it was a baby. Because, of course, the abortion industry has lied to women over and over again, because, again, this is about population control and government funding. This is government-funded population control. That's what Planned Parenthood and abortion is. And they want to keep that gravy train going and paying for... I mean, look, they get, $500 million? I mean, we're sounding like a broken record here, but isn't it over $500 million a year?
It's too much. It's too much. Who
they have promised us to repeal and replace. They haven't managed to do that. Repeal and replace Obamacare. They've gotten rid of the individual mandate and some other good things, but they haven't repealed and replaced it, and they haven't changed the entire issue of abortion.
Yeah, no, they signed the omnibus bill that wrote a check to Planned Parenthood for $500 million. I mean,
and just another down payment on eugenics, and it just makes me sick.
So whenever I hope this lawsuit leads it to the Supreme Court. I pray to God it does. And can you imagine? You think we had the March for Women, whatever it was, where they were wearing the hoo-ha hats in D.C.? If it gets a hearing at this
March,
yes, if we get this weekend was a March for Science. See, that's how much people care about this stuff anymore. It's a hashtag activism, like we've talked about. But
it's always that's how they do things. It's just it's canned.
I can't wait to see what it would be. It would be madness out in the streets, and you will see these people's true. I mean, they're pretty bold now, but I mean that want to kill babies even more out in the streets. Oh, I would love it. So, hey, let's go ahead, Susan. Let's take a break.
Oh, okay.
I know. I have a story from liveaction.org that is going to hopefully put you in tears.
Oh.
It's a good one. It's a great one. All right, you're listening.
Good tears.
It's good tears. It did to me. You're listening to Common Sense Radio on the Lanterns Radio Network.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
In every rising of the sun, my purpose was to be thankful to be alive. I was even more thankful for the blessings that came with this life, specifically Virdis, my wife. But that came to an end when Aklavane and her minions violently took her away from me. So my new purpose in this life is to gather all the pieces of the Stone's Heart so I can defeat Aklavane and get back my bride. Join me as I travel to new worlds, making new friends and avoiding old enemies. Read more about my story in the first 2 books of the Stone's Heart series, which are now available on Amazon.com in Kindle format. The first book is The Quest for Savit Varda, and that is followed by The Heart of Pagaila. Stone's Heart is more than a fantasy and a sci-fi quest. It's me fighting to get back my precious wife, despite the overwhelming odds against me. Stone's Heart. Join, explore, and believe.
And welcome back to the program, folks. You're listening to Common Sense Radio on the Lanterns Radio Network. Susan, before I get to the story, I just saw something on Twitter. It's at Live Action, a story. The Jane Roe of Roe v. Wade was used by pro-abortion attorneys to further the agenda of legalizing abortion. Here's why Roe v. Wade was all based on lies, and the story of how Jane Roe became pro-life.
Yes, I knew about that. She became pro-life, and she regretted that. She did. She regretted that she had been part of the abortion movement.
Wow, we're going to have to cover that one time.
We will. We'll have to. Yeah, I've known about that, and that's a good story too, because it does show you that God's not done with us. God's not done with everyone yet. And sometimes you just have to pray and hope that people see the light, and a lot of people do. I mean, there have been abortionists who've turned around and said, "I can't do this anymore," because they know the truth and they stop doing what they're doing. And we have to keep praying that God opens their hearts and people will see that really life is sacred, and that this little baby is an innocent life and should not be snuffed out. Really, truly. That's a good thing. And God only touches people, one at a time. God doesn't save collectively. God is not a socialist. He doesn't save people collectively.
What?
Christ came to save people one at a time, individually, one at a time, with a personal conversion. And that's why, by talking individually to people one-on-one, one at a time, you can make a big difference. because that way you can be that one voice that stands up for life. And I talk to people, when I'm in the supermarket or something, and I get to chatting, and they'll say, well, how many kids do you have? Well, I have 7. And, they go, ha ha, well, have you figured out where they came from yet? They do that kind of stuff. Yeah, I figured that out. And they'll say, well, your husband needs a hobby. And I'm like, yeah, I got that too. But then...
he has a hobby.
Yeah, he's got one. Hey, boy, let me tell you what. But then where it really evolves into is that I start talking to them and they say, well, gee, I have 1 and I'm overwhelmed with just 1. How do you do 7? And I tell them, well, the first one's the hardest. I was absolutely overwhelmed with 1. Your learning curve is vertical. It's vertical every day. Just when you think you get the baby, diapered and fed and everything, you turn around and the diaper's dirty or the kid's hungry again. I mean, it's a vertical learning curve every day, and you're exhausted as a mom or as a dad. You come home and your wife is in tears looking at you like, I don't know what's going on. The baby's only been eating and she starts to break down and you're like, I don't know, honey. And so, of course, men and women start to think, gee, I don't know, should we have more? And in today's world, our culture is telling people, no, don't have any more people. Oh, no, don't do it because it'll be too much. You won't be able to take care of you. You need me time. You need your own personal achievement, blah, 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 blah. So there's plenty of propaganda out there to discourage people. And I just tell people when I'm meeting them, I said, no, the first one's the hardest because you don't know what you're doing. But after that, it becomes easier.
Yeah.
And the thing is I like to tell them, once you've gone from 2 kids to 3 kids, you have gone from man-to-man defense to zone defense. And now you're in zone defense. You can go ahead and have as many as you want because you're never going back to man-to-man defense. You're in zone defense. And the other thing I say is just pour as much juice as you want to clean up, because you just line up the little cups, you just pour a little bit, because it's all going to get knocked over and messed up anyway. That's the way that goes. So you just have them and you love them, and it really does all work out, and they start kind of playing and being happy with each other. And I just, you tell people one-on-one, and that's, I think, how we get the message of life across, and that message of love, that message of accepting and bearing with one another and being kind and loving children. And that's how we counter these harpies in the pro-abortion industry, which is just sick. But tell me, wait, I want to hear about the story about, you told me about, there's this cool story about
there's a doctor,
babies?
Yes, Dr. George Delgado's pioneering research, which saved her preborn baby of Karen Rea, who was 19 years old, and immediately after taking the first 2 pills of the medical abortion, changed her mind.
Oh, she took one of the first. There's the morning after pill.
The morning after,
right?
correct? Yes,
the morning after pill. You go in and you say, "Oh my gosh, I might be pregnant." So you take one of the pills and that first pill, I forget the name of it. It's like mu. I'm looking it down here. It's one of it's yes.
It's a disgusting medication.
Mifepristone. I don't know how to say this. I am sorry. I'm not a doctor.
No
but
worries.
What it does is it blocks progesterone production in the woman, and that's what usually triggers your body to start sloughing off the uterine lining. And what it does is it means that the conceived baby is going to starve to death because the uterine lining won't be there. It'll start breaking down. That's what the first pill does. And then the second pill you go in, the second pill you take, the morning after pill, is the one that starts contracting your uterus to expel the contents, as the pro-aborts would call the contents, the baby.
Yeah. Well,
so she's taken the first pill to start telling her body that she's not pregnant. And then what happens? What did she do? She
got on the internet and looked for this doctor, and Dr. George Delgado is pioneering research to reverse this. And so far, as a result, he has saved 400 babies.
Wow, that's great.
With an abortion pill reversal. I mean, I'm going to search high and low over the next couple weeks, months, to see if I can try and get a hold of him to bring him on. I mean, that is incredible.
That would be great.
No promises, folks. No promises.
No, but if we get him, we will absolutely let you know when we're doing it. But
Yes.
I think I was reading a little bit more about it. What he does to reverse it, he says that he prescribes progesterone because that's the hormone that tells the body, okay, you're pregnant. So he's countering the pill that they just gave him, what the pro-aborts have given the woman. He counters that with progesterone, and he's saved a bunch of babies that way. Like 60 or 70%.
Yeah, it's
he's
amazing.
been able to save, and they've gone on to be delivered normal and healthy and everything. And that's wonderful that we can counter. I mean, you know what? In this crazy age where you can take a pill and kill a baby, isn't it amazing how God, through science, has another option to save these babies? Look, there are so many babies who are born prematurely who normally wouldn't survive, and here's God making helping the scientific advances so that we can save babies born younger and younger, like 23 weeks. You can be viable now at 23 weeks. And I believe we're going to find a time when we can push that back even farther so that we can save younger and younger babies. And that's just the grace of God. That's helping. And I think he's trying to make sure every baby has a chance at life. And here's one of these people, Dr. Delgado, who's found a way to counter the evil of the morning after pill with a save your baby pill. I think it's wonderful.
He even set up a hotline, Susan. It's 1-877-558-0333 for anyone that a hotline just to talk to. If you want to get, he said he's receiving between 100 and 150 calls a month on this hotline.
And he's got a website. It's called abortionpillreversal.com. Abortion Pill Reversal. That's wonderful.
I mean,
it's wonderful.
It's a remarkable. I mean, it makes you speechless almost.
Yes, and that's 300 over 300 women have successfully delivered babies after undergoing that, and they just took a pill to counter it. I mean, what a blessing modern medicine is. I know it can be a curse because of the what we can do with bad drugs, but what a blessing it is that he's on the side for good to help preserve life.
I know.
That's amazing. I think it's wonderful.
And he's in San Diego, California. Yay!
Woo! Fighting the good fight on
the left coast.
Dr. Delgado, San Diego, huh? I'm going to look him up when I go down there.
No doubt.
Find him.
Yeah, buy him lunch, buy him a beer, do something, no doubt. So and then we head over to Britain, where the teacher union votes to teach students about how to get abortions. And we're talking to article lifenews.com, and I saw that, and I started like shivering, started shaking, like, what are they doing?
Well, they're over here in America. They're teaching you how to get pregnant. I mean,
yeah, and over in Britain, I mean,
I guess over in Britain they got to tell you, well, after we've taught you how to get pregnant, I guess we have to teach you how to have an abortion. Jeez. This is sick.
Oh, and a number of teachers in the union said they do not see any problem with pushing a pro-abortion agenda on students and their classrooms. Some even say they want to undermine pro-life parents' authority on the issue, arguing that students may receive incorrect information at home. Here, news. I got a timeout on that quote, Susan. It's none of those parents' those teachers' darn business on this topic. This has nothing to do with what you should be teaching: reading, writing, arithmetic. Period. Yeah, well, end of story.
This underscores why we all got on boats and we left that place. That's England.
Oh, no kidding.
Is government school control. This is, you don't know what you're doing. You should not be raising your kids. We will, so we're going to tell you what to do. That's exactly the mindset. The rest of the world, this is what American exceptionalism is. It's not that we're better than any nation, although we are. But that's but that's not where the term came from. The term American exceptionalism came from the notion that we as Americans, America is the exception to the rule. The exception to the rule of state control and government control and rulers. All the rest of the world, whether it's the Habsburgs in Germany or the kings and queens of Ireland and, Northumbria and the British Isles, or whether it's the pharaohs or anyone, we've always had these, these people who think they're descended from gods who can rule over us, right? That's what the whole history of Europe and Asia is about. And what we did is we just said, no, we disagree with that. God gives us life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We are going to found a nation that says, we give you rights to govern us, the government. We, the people, give you that right. That's what makes America exceptional. And now you're seeing in this story with these Britons, we got to teach abortion because parents don't really know what they're doing. That we have parental rights, but you see over there, the government has rights ahead of parents, and that's what's wrong with the rest of the world. That's why America is an exceptional place. Thank God we're here, and we can fight for our children and the fight for the right to teach them, which is our God-given right.
No kidding. And they got a picture at the bottom of the article. Make abortion great again.
Oh my gosh, it's a new. They're trying to go on the hashtag MAGA, make abortion great again. Good luck with that. It's make America great again.
No
Boy, they are
kidding.
some sick people. Oh well, anything to kill a baby, right? Anything.
No
That's what they
kidding.
want.
I mean, it's almost like we're in China with the
one-child
policy. Oh my goodness! So do you want to go?
How's that working out for them?
Oh god, it's not working well because I saw a report at NPR that I was reading on the article that in China they've had about 30 million abortions and that there's so many more. I mean, they probably have had more. That's probably a conservative number. That there's so many males more than females that it's the end of a line of families. I mean, and people are actually very sad about that. Yeah, for some odd reason, they can't find out why.
They can't find brides, but you know what that does? Since we're talking about it, it means that you have what? How many? 30 million bachelors? Do you know what that makes? That makes for one heck of a pile of cannon fodder. That means China has an army. And all China has to do is stand in front of the 30 million army, people, the men of breeding age, and say, fine, you want a wife? You go to fight in war. If you survive war and if we're victorious over the great Satan, whoever it is, you'll come back, we'll get you a bride.
Yeah.
That's what you call motivation. That is a very, very dangerous thing that they've done. They've now created cannon fodder. And these men will die. They will gladly die for the right to
marriage.
Have a child,
yeah.
For the right to continue their own breeding line. I mean, this goes to the basic survival instinct of humankind, and that's such a form of genocide, really, and such a form of male abuse, really. Can you imagine a government that says, "Oh no, you're not allowed to marry or have children. You're going to be enslaved to us as our our army." I mean, it abuses men that they're not free to marry and pursue. And what it's going to lead to, of course, probably is younger and younger brides. You're going to start seeing older Chinese men marrying much younger girls because they're going to have to go down in age to find a bride, right? To find a wife.
Sick.
It's sick. It's truly sick, and that's what happened. Well, the whole nation of China has a long history of playing with nature. There are articles out there about how they shot all the birds one summer because they thought that the birds were going to eat the crops. And in fact, what happened is the birds were dead, and they told children to go out there and shoot all of them. And then they were so successful that there weren't enough birds to kill off the insects that were around, and so these insects like locusts and things ate all of the crops and destroyed it, and there was famine. There's China for you. I mean, just they keep playing with Mother Nature, and they keep destroying and devastating their people. They've inflicted famine on their people. They've inflicted all kinds of horrors through forced abortion, and now they've got an entire generation of men who don't have wives, who don't have mates. I mean, this is sick. This is what China is. This is communism in China and pro-abortion. That's exactly that's the proud history of abortion and eugenics. Just look at China. One child, sick.
I'm going to do a rapid fire one for you right here, Susan, because after this we got a couple minutes to take, and then we got to take our last break, and we'll give you a little. We've got our spoof at the end of the show that you folks will not want to miss. I guarantee you that. I saw this and I thought of you instantly. I'm not a Catholic. Maybe you can speak to this. Catholic Church disaffiliates Catholic, and they put in quotation Catholic college hosting Planned Parenthood CEO Cecile Richards. So automatically, I think I know why the quotations are there now.
Yes, I think you. I've got to pull that one up again, but
it's a California, university hosting one of the four most abortion activists in America is no longer Catholic, though its roots are in the faith. It is Dominican University of California invited her.
Right, and what the Catholic Church is saying is they're trying to flag it and saying, look, I know it says it's Dominican, and that suggests that it's Catholic because Saint Dominic was the founder of the Dominican order, blah 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 blah. So when you use the word Dominican, it is a signal. It's a trigger word. It's a Catholic trigger word that says, oh, these are probably Catholic educators, right? Well, it's not, because the Catholic Church came out and said, look, don't be fooled. Just because it has Dominican in the title doesn't mean that it is espousing or teaching Catholic values, because they're inviting Cecile Richards, who is the fact she's the CEO. She's stepping down, but she's the CEO of Planned Parenthood. And Catholics do not support abortion at any time other than to save the life of the mother. I mean, that Catholics have always recognized that if there's literally a choice between the baby or the mother and you can't save both, then you have to do something. But that's the problem, is that these Dominicans are now masquerading as though they're Catholic. And I'm glad that the Catholic Church has stood up and said, that's not us. No, don't listen to them. They're not speaking for us. So good for them.
Yeah, absolutely good for them. All right, let's take our last break, Susan, and we will come back on the flip side. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right, I'll catch you on the flip side.
Hi, we're the Bells of Liberty. You can listen to us on Lanterns Radio Network.
New shows air every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern.
You can find us on Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, and iHeartRadio, and on Twitter at Bells of Liberty. See you then.
Hi, it's Blake Johnson, and you can listen to my show, The Blake Johnson Program, every Monday evening at 9/8 Central on lanterns.buzz. Here, I'll delve into the news of the day and anything related to politics, movies, music, faith, and more. Nothing is off limits. This is our meeting ground for conservatives, libertarians, Christians, all liberty lovers. The Blake Johnson Program, every Monday evening at 9/8 Central, only on lanterns.buzz.
Hey everybody, I'm Matt Holloway, host of the HoloNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network from Phoenix, Arizona. And you can catch our show every week live at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern. For those of you who live in Central Time, I don't know what that is because I don't feel like doing math. No, I'm kidding. It's 6 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, every Sunday here on the Lanterns Media Network, where we hold the line against the night and lift up our light to shine it into the darkness. Don't miss it. Again, that's the HoloNet podcast here on the Lanterns Media Network.
Hello, America. Michael Murphy, Voice of Reason here. I hope you'll join me Thursday evenings live at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. See you there.
And welcome back to the program, folks. You're listening to Common Sense Radio on the Lanterns Radio Network. This segment will be dedicated tonight to give you an update on the pro-choice crowd and the news you need to know. Cecile Richards, the head population controller and genocidal dominatrix of Planned Parenthood, is stepping down next month. that it's been reported. Yeah, woo! I know.
Let's give her a retirement send-off.
Yes, no kidding.
That harpy's moving on.
You know, she said that in a radio interview, and she's hitting the book circuit lately to make some more cash. And guess what her book name is, Susan? Take a guess.
I have no idea. Go ahead and enlighten me, AJ.
They're using hashtag Making Trouble, which that's her book name, Making Trouble, and they're using that hashtag all over the interwebs.
Make trouble, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, it's true. I guess she does like making trouble. She sure doesn't like making babies, that's for sure.
Not at all. And one of the recent attendees at the hashtag Make Trouble book tour quoted Cecile Richards on this, and it made my head spin. And I know it will make yours. Quote, "If you're not scaring yourself, you're not doing enough," end quote. Susan, wow. Give me your take on that.
That's really scary.
What do you mean by that?
Look, they don't even know that they're such harpies, and that they're, I mean, if you're not scaring yourself, you're not doing enough. I mean, how many babies, feet and hands are they going to be cutting off? How many times are they going to be putting forceps inside of a woman and ripping little body parts off? And how many times are they going to, turn on that machine that goes zzz, zzz, zzz. I mean, that's scary. They are living inside of a scary, like a horror film. They work at a horror movie factory, and that's not enough. If you're not scaring yourself, you're not doing it. You know what? They have the luxury of being scared. You know what? Who's more scared than them? These poor little babies who see feel these forceps grab onto their arms and legs and start pulling them out. Can you imagine how awful? They're called medieval torture racks when you put somebody on a medieval torture rack and you stretch them until they tear in half. That's what these people at Planned Parenthood and Cecile Richards do to babies. They put them on torture racks and literally rip their arms and legs off and crush their skulls and suck them out with vacuums. That's medieval torture. That's what they're doing to babies. If you're not scaring yourself, you're not doing enough. Lord have mercy.
And what's even scarier is Planned Parenthood put out for immediate release on April 10th, a new program they have and they celebrated 1 million conversations. Susan?
Oh, yeah. I heard about this. This is their new chat text thing. They're channeling Donald Trump. That's what they're doing. Because Trump is so good at doing the text and the tweeting and stuff. He is getting around everybody in the media. The media's heads are spinning. And so Planned Parenthood is now channeling Donald Trump. They are using the text chat, the chat text whatevers, to sell their services to the next generation. That's what they're doing. And I saw the quote from this. It sounds so sweet. Technology allows us to minimize barriers such as time and transportation, which can prevent people from getting the timely health care they need. To serve young people who aren't getting sex education in their schools, who live in rural areas, or who face other barriers to assessing accurate, compassionate, sexual and reproductive health information that is relevant to their experiences, Planned Parenthood's chat text program offers personalized conversations with real educators in real time. Oh my gosh, doesn't that sound wonderful?
So, folks, this is a spoof we told you about. Susan and I have created a pregnancy service announcement. This is a pregnancy service announcement brought to you by Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood's new chat text program is revolutionizing how we sell abortion services to the next generation. Anywhere, anytime, no matter what.
Hi, welcome. My name is Sam. What's yours?
Hi, Sam. My name's Amy.
Oh, it's great that you've taken this step to contact Planned Parenthood. Do you need an abortion, Amy?
Thanks. I'm not gonna lie. I'm quite nervous. I've recently had sex without protection. My discharge has changed ever since. Best thing to do is come in and get checked for STDs, right?
Yes, sirree, Bob. But STDs aren't a big deal. Worse than that, you could be pregnant. Your doctor, a nurse, or the staff at Mitchell Street Health Center can help you cure that pregnancy with our free abortion services.
Well, this would be my first visit ever, so I'm not sure what exactly is going to happen. This sounds kind of scary.
Well, Amy, let's be honest. After you've shared your social security number and health care payment information with the doctor or nurse, the two of you can decide which tests are the most expensive. Now, practicing safer sex can help you greatly reduce the possibilities of STD transmission. Would you like more information about fisting?
I'm not sure what that is.
Hey, if you have an STD, we'll get you a penicillin shot and we'll load you up with some condoms for the road. But if you're preggers, we'll break out Mr. Slurpee here, and we'll take care of that nasty mass of tissues right then and there. Any questions?
Sounds gross. Gee, how much will that cost me?
Oh, don't worry about that. This is why Planned Parenthood is here, to help you get your government abortion benefits. We make a killing off of killing babies. And the best part is, the American taxpayers front that bill, so you hardly have to pay a thing. Thank you for letting Planned Parenthood chat you up, Amy. And remember, anytime you need to chat, just call Planned Parenthood at 1-935-955-3239. It's easy to remember because it's One We Kill Baby. Now, just to make sure I've been as helpful to you as possible, can you tell me what you plan to do about your situation after this chat?
After chatting with you, I'm going to tell my mom about this and ask for her help. You sound sick. So folks, that was Susan and I's...
there you go. That's your pregnancy service announcement.
Yeah,
your PSA for the day.
That's your PSA for the day. We wanted to give you what... We wanted to simulate what a potential call or text would end up like. And I mean, you prove us wrong. Prove us wrong. That's probably what a million.
Report your own and see what they say to you. It won't be the same. We took the liberty of making it a little bit more direct, shall we say?
Yes.
Look, Planned Parenthood, they are in the business. They are making a killing off of killing babies. That's what
they are.
Business.
It's true.
They get $500 million plus every year from you, the American taxpayer, just so that they can practice eugenics selectively, especially on black babies. That's who they target. That's where a lot of the Planned Parenthood facilities are located. They're located primarily black or lower income neighborhoods across the country, because that's exactly who Margaret Sanger was targeting way back in the day. That's Planned Parenthood's foundress, the mistress of abortion herself, Margaret Sanger. She wanted to make sure that every child could be killed in a family. It's so sick.
It is.
Planned Parenthood, as a reminder, we did a show to introduce people to Planned Parenthood, the next generation. You and I might know about it, but if you haven't heard it all, you can hear it at it's our March 12th podcast, Life is a Human Right, all about Margaret Sanger.
Yeah, and we thank you for joining us tonight for Gestation is a Human Right with us tonight. And we check out the rest of our shows. Like Susan said, life is our focus. It's so important. And I will see you next week. And Susan, have a great week.
God bless America. Thanks, AJ.
God bless you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.